Uh-oh. What are the Pac-12 and the Big Ten missing out on this week? That's a huge question in college football. I'm going to answer it coming up right now. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Elite Athletes TV. I'm Mike Pawlawski, former 11-year pro quarterback and quarterbacks coach here at EliteAthletesTV.com. And this week, I am missing out on college football. As many of you at home know, I'm a college football analyst. I work professionally broadcasting the game. Love being around it. Love watching college football. I work in the Pac-12, and I love watching the game out here on the West Coast. And based on the Pac-12 and the Big Ten shutting down, I'm not going to have that opportunity. Before we get into it, if you love football analysis, love football plays, love football design, learning about offense, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell, get notified every time there's new videos coming out. Give me a thumbs up if you're ready to talk about college football and the ramifications of what's going on right now. And leave me a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you, your thoughts about what's going on with college football. Today, we're going to take a look at it from 3 different perspectives. And I can do that because I've been on all 3 levels and all 3 of these perspectives. And so I can tell you what people think about from the inside. I've also had insider conversations with a lot of people around the game here in college, and I want to bring you some of that insight so you kind of understand the decision-making process. The first perspective I want to bring it to you from is that of a player, a coach, and the families of those players and coaches. And I can tell you right now, a lot of players and coaches, this is driving them crazy. Not being able to play the sport they love, the sport that they've built their whole life around, is driving them absolutely nuts. They want to play. You've seen around the country that there are literally parents from University of Nebraska, I think it was 8 sets of parents, that brought a class action suit against the Big Ten. Well, there are lawsuits like that being drafted up across the country right now because players want to play. It is making them nuts. That's what we do. I can tell you personally, I played 11 years of pro football. I was in college for 5 years, 1 redshirt year, 4 active years as a player. I was a starter for 2 years. And it took hell or high water to keep me off the field. I played through a torn MCL on my knee. I played through broken bones. I played through all kinds of other issues because I wanted to be on the field. And so as a football player, you're a bit of a gladiator. That's kind of the mindset you have to go into battle every week, or else nobody would ever do it. And you play through a lot of things that you wouldn't if you were just in a regular business. If there was no passion behind it, if it wasn't what you loved, if it wasn't expected of you, there's a lot of stuff that you would never play through. I wouldn't play through, for a sales meeting, a broken neck, for instance. My last year playing in the XFL, I had a broken neck. I broke my neck in week 2. And played the entire season with it. I played with torn cartilage in my knee. I played with a torn rotator cuff the last 5 games of the season. And so you play through a lot of stuff when you're playing because you love the game. You have passion for the game. And I have people talk to me about it now, and they say, oh, I bet you'd have done that different, huh? Not a chance. Knowing what I know now, I'd have still made the same decisions that I made then because I loved the game. And you only get that opportunity to be that passionate about your profession once in a lifetime as a football player. I had those years, and that was it. So those players, those coaches, families, they want this season. They want to play. And in the Pac-12 and in the Big Ten, they are hyper jealous of what's going on in the SEC and the ACC right now. So watching college football start, they are not happy. They are frustrated. They are upset that they're not going to have college football. The fans, I'm a huge college football fan. Fans love their game. Fans don't ever want to see anybody get hurt, per se. I've had some fans wish some hateful stuff on me. I've had some home fans wish hateful stuff on me in the AFL. I've talked about that. I'll give you a card right up here. But I, as a fan, would love to see college football. Now, I don't want to see anybody get sick. I don't want to see anybody get hurt. I don't want to see any of that. But I miss, as a fan, as an analyst of the game, watching college football. I think just like all of you at home, if you're a player or if you're a fan, not having the opportunity to see college football on Saturday this fall seems completely abnormal. We love the game, and we love watching the game, and we also appreciate and respect the players. So we obviously don't want to see anybody get sick playing the game, But this has just been a weird year, pandemic year. And so it's weird. And when the Pac-12 and the Big Ten made their decision, I think fans were on board because they didn't know. They didn't have data. They had kind of put off the decision-making process for a long time. And they didn't have real data to support it, so there was a huge unknown out there. And so I think the fans, although they were disappointed, they respected it. They said, okay, it has to be what it has to be. And I think everybody expected all the other conferences to step right in line and make that same decision right away. But they didn't. And so if you're an administrator, if you are the attorneys for these universities, your perspective is different, because your perspective has to do not just with, hey, it's about the kids' health. Hey, it's about keeping, a tradition, college football, alive. But administration and attorneys have to worry about exposure. So they are trying to keep from getting sued. And so from a purely legal standpoint, making the decision to shut down based on the information that they had at the time made sense. Now, in retrospect, as you look at the lawsuits that are going on around the country, there's some exposure to getting sued for not playing as well. Because if you had all of the players and families of these players who were missing out as part of a class action suit, then that's huge money. Because if it turns out that this was a foreseeable outcome, and that's the key for the attorneys and for the legal side, a foreseeable outcome, or they can make the argument, attorneys can make any argument they want, but had you waited until the data came out, the new CDC data that just came out shows that the risk to college-age athletes is, hyper low in terms of death. I think it may be equivalent to what the risk is of just playing. And so there's some foreseeable outcome issues if you're an administrator or an attorney. And I think that's a huge piece of this thing from that side. They were trying to protect their liability by shutting things down and not exposing kids, staff, fans, the whole nine yards to the virus. Understandable. At the time, understandable. But, and it's a huge but, now the SEC, the ACC are about to kick off college football. We had our first college football game last week, and I know that the administrators, the coaches, the players, the fans are all just feeling like, what am I missing? What that emotional pull of, from the people that I've talked to, is like, oh, did we make the right decision? Is it the right choice? I don't think there were any bad intentions on any side of this decision. I just think that there was a lack of input. I think that there was a lack of information. And can they still reverse? Probably not. It's a huge engine at this point. Can't reverse at this point. They're talking about potentially starting up in November now, talking about potentially starting up in January, having spring football. On the upside, what that would mean is if the SEC and ACC finish, if those seasons run through, then you're going to have 9 months of college football, which is cool. But we'll have to see how that plays out with fans, with TV revenues, with everything else. And so I just think right now there's a lot of people at the Pac-12, Big Ten, and the other conferences, that are out there that also shut down for the season, thinking, what if? Did we make a mistake? Is this a huge money loser? How does it affect recruiting? How does it affect fan base? How does it affect everything around the program? And so that's what they have to live with. That's what they have to deal with right now. Tough decision to make. I'm glad I didn't have to make that decision. But there are more than one perspective to it. There's no absolutes. And I don't want to get political on anything, because that's not what we're about here, about talking football. And, we love the game of football. And so keeping this non-political, there's just a couple different perspectives that go into this that really change your perspective no matter which side of it you're on. So it's my take on it as a college football analyst, as a former player, as a former administrator. I have a perspective to show you all three of those. That's where they're coming from. I'm not trying to judge any of them. I feel for the players right now. I'm a player at heart first. I'm a player first. And so I feel for the players not being able to play right now. But that's how life works. Got to move on. Got to do what you can do. Got to be the best you can be and find a way to do the things that are going to ensure or help your success along the way. As a player, fan, administrator, that's your job right now. Make the best of whatever situation you're in and work towards a good outcome. Appreciate you watching. Just a little bit of thought about the recruiting, college football recruiting, about college football, the game, about college football fans, the effect of pandemic, just all that craziness. Kind of wanted to encapsulate it and a little free-form thinking for you here today. So I was a little bit all over the place. Appreciate you watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.